Yo, okay. First round of the playoffs are done. I mean, I can't hear you on the thing. And I'm also, I mean, I actually, you know what? I'm gonna just talk through. I'm gonna leave this in. I'm gonna leave this in. Yeah, they can't hear you, but why not leave this in? They don't know me. Yeah, I'm just talk to you. Yo, Josh, yo, the first round of the playoffs is going crazy right now. Well, I mean, like, there's only like three matchups that are going crazy. Everybody else is like a sweep, so it doesn't really matter. But like the three matchups that like are crazy right now, awesome. I'm not going to talk about the third one because I don't really care about those teams. But the Lakers and Clippers, they are getting, well, the Clippers are getting punched in the mouth. Lakers are fine. They bounce back a little bit. But the Clippers were ass. Especially Paul George. Paul George is a fucking loser. He sucks. Game one he was cool, but then two, three, four horrible games by him, and he's the reason they lost two of those games because he sucks. He only scored like I think his highest game was like 14 points, and he's shooting horribly. He's not playing good defense. He's just atrocious. And Kawhi Leonard is playing like the best basketball of his career, carrying him right now. And a whole bunch of people are making jokes about how Kawhi Leonard should have stayed in Toronto because he would have had an easier path to the finals. But damn, Kawhi probably regrets his choice. And Paul George wasn't even the first option. He wanted to team up with Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy said no. I think Jimmy just liked going to Miami more. But I'm going to talk about Miami and Jimmy when I talk about the Celtics and the 76ers. But the Lakers got the Trailblazers, right? And the Trailblazers were on fire during this playoffs. I talked about it in the last episode. It's just so crazy how fast people dismissed the Lakers. They were just talking a whole bunch of shit after game 1. It was a close game, and the Lakers also shot the worst ever in a playoff game, but it was still a close game. And people were so quick to just say that the Lakers are going to lose. LeBron's washed. This is going to be the worst part of LeBron's career. He got eliminated in the first round to the 8th seed. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Then the next 3 games, LeBron just dominates. In game 1, he had like a 38-point triple double, but people ignored that. And the next game they won, he only had like 10 points, but Anthony Davis went crazy. Then in the next game, LeBron had a pretty good game. Then the next game, LeBron drops like 30 and 10 in a blowout. He only took like 12 shots, missed 2 times, made like 4 out of 5 threes, only had like 2 turnovers. He was unstoppable. And the only thing people could find to like hate about was how he gloated at the end of the game because he shot a deep 3-pointer and he sort of like banged his chest after. And that was the only thing that people could find to talk shit about. But that's enough of the West. Fuck that. The Celtics swept the 76ers, and Joel Embiid really carried them. Like he averaged like 30 and 10, and the rest of the 76ers just sucked ass. Their coach sucked ass. The whole way that their team was set up sucked ass. It was garbage. People still found a way to like blame Joel Embiid even though he was the only one playing good for the 76ers in that series, but it is what it is. And also, people were trashing Jimmy Butler for leaving the 76ers for the Miami Heat because they thought that the Miami Heat were just going to be an 8th seed at best, probably won't even get to the playoffs, and just saying if Jimmy Butler wants to win so bad and that's why he left Philly, why would he leave for that mediocre team? But the Heat swept the Pacers in the first round, and now they're going on to the second round. So he clearly made the right decision in leaving because he knew that the 76ers were a team that was horribly built. All their parts just don't fit at all. Ben Simmons can't shoot. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons love to be in the paint, but they can't both be in the paint because you can just double both of them. The role players around them don't fit. Tobias Harris can't create his own shot consistently. Jimmy Butler saw all of that, so he left. And people trashed him. And people have been trashing him his whole career ever since he left ever since he talked trash about the Bulls. He said that the Bulls young players had were the problem, right? And he was right about that. Then he said that the coach in Chicago was bad, and he's right about that. He doesn't have a job anymore. Then he went to Minnesota, and he said the two star players in Minnesota at the time didn't have any work ethic, and he was right about that. Then he went to Philly, and he said that the whole team is dysfunctional, the coach sucks, and they're just not put together right, and he was right about that. And finally, he's in a place where there's structure, and they're moving in the right direction with good and solid pieces. And this is the best he's doing in his career. All those other teams, except for Philly, are horrible. Minnesota has a number one pick for a reason. The Chicago Bulls are a dumpster fire. They had to fire their head coach, who was an absolute idiot. It's a horrible organization over there. They're like in the Knicks category of just incompetence. And Jimmy Butler was 100% right for wanting to leave. Oh, and the Bucks are what? They have like a game 5 coming up. Oh, they didn't do the game 5 because protests. But I already talked about protests this episode, so I don't want to mug it down too much about that. But Milwaukee Bucks are probably going to win, barring any injuries, knock on wood. So with that being said, the second round is probably going to be Miami, Bucks, Celtics, Raptors for the East. And those are going to be really good series. Honestly, anybody could win any of those series. And if the Bucks get knocked out of the second round, Giannis is leaving, which is going to be really interesting because wherever he goes is going to be the next championship contender. And there's a lot of people liking him going to the Miami Heat, which would really, really drive a stake through Philadelphia because the chances of Jimmy Butler winning a championship is pretty high, and all the sports writers in Philly would look real stupid for talking trash about him. Oh yeah, the Celtics. Love the Celtics. Celtics are doing great. Swept the Sixers. Fuck yeah. Sadly, Gordon Hayward got injured, so that really screws them over. Like the one thing they had against the 76ers is their starters were just really, really good. And like the one thing that the Raptors do really good on on defense, besides all the other things that they do really good, is honing in on one star player and shutting them down, right? But you can't really do that with the Celtics because if you shut down Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker, and Jaylen Brown are just going to go for 30, and that's about 90 points plus the 15 that Jason Tatum is going to give him at the very least. So you can't just hone in on one player on the Celtics and expect to win. So the Raptors' main identity on defense is kind of in jeopardy with a healthy Gordon Hayward, but he's not healthy. So the playing field is now even, but Kyle Lowry got injured, and he was a real big part of that team. Because without him, there isn't any real consistent playmaker besides maybe Fred VanVleet, but Kyle Lowry was definitely the number 2 right next to Pascal Siakam. And Siakam can't really generate any half-court offense by himself, which is a real bad thing for the Raptors and really might hurt them in a close game, especially a game where the pace is going to be slowed down and they can't get as many transition points which is what Siakam feasts on, and what the Raptors feast on. They have a pretty average half-court offense, but they're like number 1 or 2 in terms of fast break points. So that should be a real good series. In terms of like the Bucks and the Heat, the Bucks have been really running through the East and the NBA, but that's because Giannis and the Bucks are a really, really good regular season team. But if you're able to like hone in on one player, like the Bucks, like hone in on Giannis, right? The Bucks don't have like a second dude who can like create his own offense. And if you shut down Giannis, the Bucks are really, really, really average. And the Heat also happen to have the one player who's guarded Giannis the best, Bam Adebayo. So, in terms of matchups, this is probably the best matchup for the Bucks. You know, in terms of like their probability of beating them, it's the Heat. So, it's going to be a really good second round if we ever get to a second round. Yeah. That's the NBA.